Hi girls. So, most of the feedback that I got, so I got a good few messages in the last couple of days, girls, about the revision for the first year stuff. So, when I looked at the answers, those of you who knew it really well, and then there's a couple of you who just obviously either a couple of you said to me, I don't have a copy of this, I sold the book. So lots of different reasons. It doesn't really matter what the reason is, girls. I think you're going to need just a class on it and to take a look at that exercise 9.1 before we're ready to finish off that chapter. Okay, and just 1 second, girls, a bit of a glare. Let's see if I can do something about it. Does that make it better or worse? Not worse. A bit dark maybe, but might be a bit better. Seems a little bit better. Okay, so what we're starting to look at, girls, or what you looked at last year, and again what we're revising, are what happens when you've got parallel lines. So lines with these arrows here, they're parallel lines. So I've got three parallel lines. We'd say I've got A, B, and C. And they are three parallel lines, and they're equal distances from each other. They're exactly parallel, or they should be if I'd had a large enough ruler, they would be. And then what we've got is we've got two transversal lines. So I call them X and Y. And a transversal line then, so X and Y are transversal lines, and X and Y are transversal, and you need to know what that means. What that means is a transversal line is a line that cuts parallel lines. So literally chops them, as in goes right through them, and you've got these points of intersection. Okay? So the rules that we're talking about in these ones are vertically opposite, they're called, so we just call them opposite just for short. So opposite, alternate, and corresponding. They're the angles you're dealing with. What do each of those mean? Okay, so first of all, these rules only apply if you have parallel lines that are cut by a transversal. So before you start any question, start going at angles and start trying to work things out. Make sure that you have parallel lines, and they'll be indicated to you with these arrows, or they'll tell you they're parallel lines, and that they're cut by a line that's called a transversal. Okay, so we'll look at the opposite line angles first. So for example, here and here is an example of vertically opposite angles, and they'll be equal. So if this one is 120, I know straight away that one's 120. So there's loads of vertically opposite ones here and here. So I'll just colour in a second set of vertically opposite angles. That's what vertically opposite means. And they're the easiest ones to spot. Okay. The next thing then you've got is if those two angles are the same, well, this angle and this angle are also the same. So they're also vertically opposite. So if I find one, I'll find the other. And to help you find it, I know that that entire angle across the way is 180. So if that's 180, 180 minus 120, 180 minus 120 will tell me that this black angle is 60, and therefore this black angle must also be 60. The other way you might know it is if you take a look at all the way around here. That angle is worth 360 degrees because you're going around in a full circle. They're things you would have done in primary school. The angles on a straight line add up to 180. The angles in a full circle is 360. Okay, that's the vertically opposite ones taken a look at. And now we're taking a look at alternate and corresponding. And alternate and corresponding are a little bit harder. Okay, so just taking a look back in your book when you took a look at alternate, the lines are parallel lines, you get alternate and corresponding. Again, when you're getting alternate and corresponding, I thought I seen it written somewhere, but I didn't. Alternate and corresponding, girls, again, only occur if you've got parallel lines. You don't have to have three, you could have 4, 5, 6, 2. And they're cut by some sort of transversal. And again, it doesn't have to go in this direction, it could go in this direction. So we'll start with the alternate angles. What you're looking for with an alternate angle is you're looking for the shape of Z. So that, for example, is a Z angle. So if I know that this angle here is 65, I know that this angle here must be the same, and that is 65. Why? Because they are alternate angles. That is, angles that are formed when I've got parallel lines cut by a transversal and I get the shape of a Z. The thing about the Z is it doesn't have to be just a forward facing Z. So there is another Z here, if you take a look at it. And the other Z is if I come along here. This is what we would call a backward Z. So again, if you take a look now, that shape is a Z. What we're saying is that this angle and this angle will be equal. So if I know what one of those angles is, I know what the other angle is. So let's say this angle was 110. This angle would also be 110. Okay? So when you're looking for alternate angles, you're looking for, are there parallel lines? Is there a transversal? And then you're looking for the shape of Z. Okay? And the Z can be forward or backwards. And your angles in the Z are then equal to each other. I'm just going to need to rub this one out then to be able to do the next one. Because colour to be equal. So the easiest ones, girls, I always say, if you go and look, see if you can find any vertically opposite ones. See if you can find anything on a straight line, because they're the ones you know from primary school. See if you can find one on a circle, maybe. And as a last resort, then you look for your alternate and your corresponding angles. Okay. So your alternate and your corresponding. So we're down onto corresponding. So the shapes now we're taking a look for are shape of an F. Okay, so I can see here that I've got the shape of an F. If I draw onto that one, I get the shape of an F. This angle then, and this angle in the F are equal to each other. So if this one was 110, I straight away know this one's 110. And when I'm writing down in my homework, it's not good enough, girls. Some of you are just writing down SSS. That's it. Okay, so I got a load of homework with this, like SSS, ASA, or HS. Okay, that's not good enough. You have to write the full sentence. So it is a congruent triangle because all three sides are equal, SSS. Okay, here I would say, for example, if they had labeled this A and they said find the angle A, I would say A is equal to 110 because it is a corresponding angle. Corresponding angle. And why? Because it's in the shape of an F. And that's a full answer. That is a full answer. This is from the back of the book. No good to me. Doesn't let me know whether you fully understand what I'm doing, okay? And there's a few of you who've been doing it religiously, girls, taking the answers and just putting them in. It has not gone unnoticed. I've commented a couple of times, and if you go back through your work, to ask you to resubmit it. And when it comes to the end, they're deciding this week, girls, on how to take a look at examining you. It's looking like it's going to be 70% before we broke and 30% after. And you're going to have an exam worth 15%. And other 15% is if you engage with me in the online learning. And that doesn't mean to just give me right answers from the back of the book. That's not engaging. So please be aware that it is noted, girls, and you do need to show me the workings of your work. And if I've gone back and asked for a resubmission and you didn't resubmit it, then you didn't do the homework. Simple as that, okay? Because it needs to be shown to me how you're getting your answers. And I am checking, even if I don't get to you every day. Okay, so this is one example of an F. Where else are there Fs? Well, you can have a backwards F here. So that's an example of a backwards F. You can get an upside down F. Now, I had a red pen, and that would be very handy. You can get the F, doesn't have to be up the right way around, so you could have an F, upside down F. So if you take a look, that's an upside down F, or back to front. Okay, and that makes this angle and this angle the same. And on this side, the black pen, it would make this angle and this angle. So if I know one, I know the other, and I can write down the value of this angle is whatever it is because it is a corresponding angle. So for corresponding angles, you're looking for the shape F. Front ways, it can be back ways, and it can be upside down. Okay, So there are 4 different orientations for F. Okay, and if you're looking then, this angle and this angle are the same. This angle and this angle are the same. This angle and this angle are the same. That one. This angle and this angle are the same. So that's just to go back through, girls, what you had from first year. So first year you would have looked at vertically opposite angles, you would have looked at alternate and corresponding angles, you would have looked at parallel lines, lines that are parallel, and you would have looked at transversals. Okay, but I'm aware some of you, you know, just like the rest of us, we're not all going to remember everything. You're not using it every day. Okay, so what I want you to take a look at, girls, is page 172 for me. I'm going to take a look at just question 1, 2, and 3. So I don't give too much because I see a couple of emails coming through, girls, where you're getting huge amounts of work, and I understand that, like loads of CVAs and stuff. I'm not doing any of that. You get 3 questions, 2-3 questions a night. These videos take 15, 20 minutes max. So these are actually what we would do in class. Yes, you're only doing 40 minutes work in maths, which is what you would have Monday to Thursday, and I only give you work Monday to Thursday. Okay, so I understand that you might be getting absolutely in trouble in other subjects or whatever in terms of the quantity. The quantity is not an issue here as far as I'm concerned. 3 questions is not asking a huge amount. I've never gone over 5.5. 5.5 questions because I gave 1 and I had to come back and say I didn't want it because I made a mistake on it. So when I look back through my journal, there's nothing here that's warranting no engagement. Again, please remind yourselves, girls, that the engagement's going to be important. It's looking like it's going to be worth something between 15 and 20% of your final mark for second year. If you haven't engaged, you have an opportunity still to engage. You won't be able to get the full 20, obviously, but you'll be able to get a portion of it. The work, again, I went to a couple of girls who were missing work. It's going up on VSware at the end of the week, girls, in which case parents will start to know it's already gone up on VSware for some students who haven't engaged with me for 2 weeks. I've a little chunk of a little group of girls who I hadn't heard anything from since Easter. I've emailed you several times. You go back through your Modo account and your school email. I contact both ways. I've contacted your year ahead, and if I had no feedback, I put it up today, okay, on VSware, and it has to happen. The parents have to be aware of it, because next year I won't have time to go back over it again, even though we would love to have that time again. It's not going to happen, and you've got exams at the end of it. Okay, that's enough of me rant. Me and me rants, eh? Page 172, 1, 2, and 3. And that should be the end of what you had for taking a look at first year work. If we go through the answers for the previous homework, so I'll just run through it nice and quickly. Page 170. So I gave you 6, 7, 8, and 9. So 6, if we're taking a look at 6, x was 79. So 45 plus 56, and take it away from 180 because it's on a straight line, and you get 79. If you take a look at the next angle that you're taking a look at, W is 102.56. How did I get it? 45 plus 32.44, and take it away from 180 because it's on a straight line on the bottom. And then if we take a look at X, X again, if we take a look, is 53.13 because you have a 90-degree angle there. So 36.87, take away from 90. So you've got a 90-degree angle here because it's half and half, it's 90 and 90. Part C then, you have a 90-degree angle, so 90 plus 52, and take it away from 180 gives you the 38. Question 7, what are vertically opposite angles? So I've gone through that now today. Find each of the missing angles and give a reason for your answer. And this is the important thing that some of you aren't doing. You must give the reason, girls. The reason carries as much weight as just the answer, okay? The answer alone won't get you the marks, you see. Okay, so if I take a look, X is 90 because it's vertically opposite. And then X plus Y adds up to 180, so Y is 90. And then Z is 90 because it's vertically opposite Y. Over on to the next one then. D is 66 because it's vertically opposite 66. 66 minus 180 is 114. So A is 114 and C is 114 because it's vertically opposite A. We take a look down onto the next one. Now you've got a triangle, an internal and external. So we start with the ones we know. M is 126 because it's vertically opposite. J is 65 because it's vertically opposite. So then you take 126 from 180 to get P. So P is 180 minus 126, 4. And then N is 54 because it's vertically opposite. We go across onto the other side then. You take 65 away from 180. I thought I had them all done, but skip that one. 180 minus the 65. So to get K is 115 and H is vertically opposite, so it's also 115. And then the three angles of a triangle add up to 180. So you go 54 plus 65 is 119, and take that away from 180, and that leaves Q at 61. Again, what is a transversal, a corresponding, and an alternate? I've gone through question 8 on the board there. And then we're on to question number 9. So you're taking a look at A, B, C, and D. Find the missing angles and explain how you found them, vertically opposite, etc. So if we're taking a look at Y is 85 because it's vertically opposite. Then 85 from 180 is 95 for W, and Z is also 95. And then you're taking a look at C and Z, for example, they're corresponding angles. So they're an F shape, C and F. And then once you get C, A is 95 because it's vertically opposite. 180 minus 95 gives you B is 85, and B is vertically opposite. Only normally need to use alternate or corresponding ones. If we go into B, so B is 95 because it's vertically opposite. 95 from 180 gives you C, which is 85, and A is 85 then too, because it's vertically opposite. And then you're looking at some sort of a shape. So I did corresponding last time, so I'll do the Z shape now. So you go C and Y. So C and Y are alternate angles, so it's 85Y, and then you go through it. Y is vertically opposite W, so W is also 85. 85 from 180 gives you 95 for Z, and Z is opposite X, so it's also 95. Okay. So that's the questions 6, 7, 8, and 9 gone through, and your homework for tonight. Okay, and I'll talk to you soon, girls.